Hey there folks, welcome to Truck King and to downtown Detroit. We are here to look at this, the all-new 2024 Chevrolet Equinox EV. Now, bringing an electrified powertrain to a nameplate like Equinox has been done by Chevy because they are hoping this is one of the models that really finally has widespread adoption across the market. So is that actually going to happen? Well, let's go for a drive, talk about the price, the power, and the charging situation, and you can decide for yourself. Let's get into it. Let's kick this one off with a walk around. Now up here under the hood, this is actually a bit of a change. Most EVs these days come with what they call a frunk, that is a front trunk. They use this space because you don't need it for a classic gas engine to add storage. That is not what Chevy has done here. This looks like an engine bay that you would see in a gasoline powered car. Now I can think of two advantages here. The first one, if you're a mechanic, well, here's everything you need to work on, unlike a vehicle with the frunk where you have to disassemble that whole frunk to get to the drive units. And second of all, and this is definitely a theme with this vehicle, cost savings. It's one less thing that they had to engineer up here. All of these frunks usually can carry many hundreds of pounds of weight, so there is quite a bit of work that goes into them. So this just straight up saves costs and keeps things kind of traditional. Now, talking about the horsepower on this unit, Equinox EV is standard front-wheel drive, although you can get all-wheel drive, and the numbers are different. So when you go for front-wheel drive, you're getting 213 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. Step up to all-wheel drive, you get up to 288 horsepower, 333 pound-feet of torque. Now the model you're looking at right here is the RS. This is top of the lineup. Now RS doesn't have any physical changes to the lower trim LT model. What it does have though is unique styling. So you're getting a different grille up there, more of the black accents which really pop on this red. If you want the nicest looking Equinox in the lineup, you definitely want to go RS. So right now, why don't you drop in the comments right away and just tell me, what do your eyes see here? Do you think this is a good looking crossover? Let me know. When it comes time to charge up your Equinox EV, the charger's up here, front driver's side. There it is right there. It does accommodate up to 150 kilowatt fast charging. And with that, General Motors says you are recouping 77 miles of range in just 10 minutes. But of course, that number, you have to qualify it and say that is usually between 10 and 90% of the charge. The first bit of a battery charge and the last bit always take much longer. But still, 77 miles in 10 minutes, that is a fairly reasonable range. Now, as we roll back here, I always love to check what the payload number is here on the door jamb sticker. Right here, 1,077 pounds, which for a family-oriented crossover, I actually feel like is a good number. If you're hitting that 1,000 pounds, that is half decent. Now, we get around the back, you can see the large hatch here on the Equinox, and you don't have the frunk up there, but if you're concerned about storage, I honestly wouldn't be. They've built in a ton of storage here. The hatchback kind of design definitely helps, but I can just reach in there and just touch this. And then underneath the floor, you also get another massive storage bin down there. So the storage situation here is actually pretty good. So I'm not concerned that they didn't include that frunk. Now, last point I want to make out back, if you do add a hitch to this vehicle, you can tow up to 1,500 pounds. Now let's go hop in the back seat and see how big it is inside. So let's go ahead and climb in. Just before I do though, let me point out there is lower latch positions on both sides and 3 top tethers across the back for those of you concerned about baby seats. So this is 38 inches of second row legroom, and it's honestly a ton. I have no issues with this seat in front of me. This seat is not pushed particularly far forward either. They could even come back another inch or two. and I would be fine. Headroom, there is a bit of a hump here, so when I lean forward, I hit it, but behind it, which is a comfortable seating position, it's no problem. So they did tailor this well. I stand at 6'2", just over 300 pounds. So yeah, no concerns whatsoever about fitting a full-size adult in the back of this Equinox. And then for amenities back here, I do have a heated second row seat, so that's nice in the wintertime, plus a USB-C port and my own HVAC vent right there, which a lot of vehicles don't get, so I do appreciate that too. Yeah, as back seats go, this is a big one, and I think Equinox is a name that people associate as being a family vehicle. So if you had a tight second row, that would not have been smart. That's not the case here. It's quite spacious inside. And here we are, folks, behind the wheel of the Equinox RS EV. So the RS is the top trim in the lineup as of right now, but it's mostly about styling. Chevrolet explained to us that there is no actual difference in how this vehicle will drive versus a base Equinox EV, so it's not like you're getting suspension tuning, anything like that. It's just all about the way this thing looks and then the features you're getting on the interior. Now we do have drive modes here. I'm just in normal mode, but I just got on the interstate. I'm doing 70 miles an hour already, but let's put my foot into it. And there it is, that nice smooth EV acceleration. Now, it's not crazy, it's not overpowering, anything like that. The numbers here on this vehicle that we're driving, 213 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. So not overwhelming power numbers, but that's always going to be the trade-off in any vehicle, but especially in EV, is if you don't pump up the horsepower and pump up the way that power is delivered, it allows you to get more range. And range is definitely top of mind for all of EV consumers and the whole EV market. So in this RS front-wheel drive model, we are getting an estimated range of 319 miles on a full charge. And that number is massively important because it backs up Chevy's claim that this is the most affordable 300 plus mile EV that you can buy in America. And these are now shipping to dealerships, so you can already go and get one right now. And honestly, you know, when EVs first launched, they were sort of promised to be this new affordable type of transportation, and that frankly hasn't happened yet. Most EVs have gone the other way. They've started at the top trims, luxury models, and now slowly but surely we're seeing the rollout of more of these affordable EVs. And that's important. If we want mass adoption of EVs, if that's the goal, we have to lower the prices. So the Equinox is making a concerted effort to do that. And now, of course, you're wondering what the price is. Well, here in this RS, we're talking about $46,795 in the States before the incentives are applied. So there's a federal incentive here in the States, and then some individual states have their own incentive, so you can bring that price down by quite a bit. Same goes for Canada. There's a federal tax credit, and then certain provinces have their own tax credits as well. So the price won't be the exact same. It does depend on where you live. At the low end, at launch, the most affordable Equinox EV is going to be $43,295. But later this year, the 1LT front-wheel drive model will launch, and they're targeting a price on that of $34,995. So apply the incentives to $34,000, and you're going to be under 30 grand for the base model of this Equinox. And I think that's a really big deal. Getting us to those more affordable places is where we need to get to with EVs. The rest of the vehicle here is well sorted. Just like all of our ICE vehicles these days, this Equinox is quiet, it's comfortable here on the highway, it's easy to drive, there's nothing in it that, you know, seems alien or strange. And that's another place where it took a couple years, but we're there now. These things don't have to be all futuristic and look like spaceships. They're just regular transportation. So that's what I'm really getting the sense from this Equinox is it's not trying to be flashy. It's not trying to do something, you know, that it shouldn't be doing. This is just an honest to goodness, people mover, which matters at this price point. So I'm just so happy to see Chevy driving down that price. Couple other thoughts from behind the wheel. We do have Super Cruise here on our top trim RS model. It is standard here, and then it's optional on the lower trims. Again, nothing new, but I do like Super Cruise. We have been using it quite a bit today. It's been working well. Super Cruise, of course, is full hands-free driving. You still have to pay attention. The driver is still at fault in an accident, so it's not like you can not watch what you're doing. But it does take some of the stress out of highway driving, and it just changes your mindset sort of from having to pay attention constantly to every little input in the wheel to more just having to pay attention to what's going on around you, the context that you're in while you're driving. So I like that. And context is important because this also has the auto lane change feature. If my speed is set faster than the vehicle in front of me, the Equinox will automatically move to the left to try and pass, but I have had it try to move in front of a car that's coming up on me really quickly because they can't see it that far back. So that's why I use that word context. You always need to be paying attention as the driver just to understand who's coming up on you, how are they driving, are they aggressive, all of those things that you still do need a human for is important. So I actually put my signal on now. It's doing its auto lane change here. And very nicely done. Talking about the interior, the first thing that stands out sitting up front is the 17.7-inch center touchscreen. Of course, that thing is massive, and it's the largest in this segment, even larger than what you're going to find in the Tesla Model Y. That's something Chevy went out of their way to point out. So yes, you know what? The technology is here. I like the layout of it. You know what? I think one of the best uses of these huge screens is the nav system because you just get that much larger of a map. Once again, provides you with that view, that context to know what's around you. So I like having the huge map view. This is your home sort of split view, so you can set what you want here. I have my music on one side, map on the other side. Definitely not a lot of physical buttons and knobs in this thing. Down below, you're getting a couple for your HVAC system, for your AC and your heat. But yeah, mostly you're controlling everything through the screen up there. The one thing they did leave is the volume knob up here because it's sacrilegious to get rid of the physical volume knob. We all still expect that. But yes, we're certainly moving into more of a digital age where just about everything in your car will be controlled by the touchscreen. And so far, so good here in this Chevy. It is working quite well. There is, of course, regenerative braking on this Equinox EV, like all EVs have. There's 3 different settings technically for it. So you do have one pedal drive. That's where the vehicle will bring you right to a stop. You don't have to touch the brakes once you lift off the throttle. So one pedal drive has 2 settings, a normal setting and then a more aggressive setting. And then what I really appreciate is I have a paddle here on the left side of my steering wheel. Now, the paddle can be used at any time. You simply grab the paddle and that will also activate the regen for as long as you want it. Let go of the paddle and it goes away. That, to me, is actually even a better solution because sometimes you don't want the regen. The problem with regenerative braking is it doesn't allow you to coast. And quite frankly, coasting in some situations is probably the most efficient way to drive. So I actually like leaving the one pedal drive off and then just grabbing that regen paddle when I know I want to slow down and I want to recoup some energy. There's even some brands out there, I think Porsche is the biggest one, who already came out publicly and said regenerative braking at all times actually ends up robbing you of some overall distance because the second you lift off the throttle, the vehicle is slowing down rather than allowing you to coast and keep your speeds up. So then when you accelerate again, you're always accelerating from a slower speed. So overall, it's a net loss. So that's always in the back of my head thinking, you know what, do I really need to be slowing down in this situation? So anyways, I like that they give you choices. Choices is always the best way to go about it. So then you can adapt your driving style to how you like it. But for me, I like leaving the one pedal off and just grabbing that paddle when I need it. Even here at highway speeds, if I wanted to slow down a little quicker, I can grab it and I can do that. And of course, the readout in front of me, it's an instantaneous readout. It shows you that you're regenerating and it shows you how much you're regenerating as well. Two other screens I want to talk about. These are under energy info. It's energy usage and energy efficiency. I think these are really important for EVs, especially now as most of us are still transitioning out of an internal combustion engine into an EV. You know, we've dealt with miles per gallon and liters per 100 kilometers for so long that it's just such an ingrained language. We understand what those numbers mean. Moving into an EV, you have a whole new set of numbers to kind of learn and wrap your head around. So I like that the automakers are also giving us so much information. So if we click on energy usage there, it's telling you exactly where the energy is going. You know, 13% to the climate, 87% has gone into driving. And then, yeah, you know what? If you want to turn your climate control off, turn the heat or AC off, you're actually going to retain some of that range. So it is good to know how much is going in there. And then another idea that I like, and I'll back out of this one, we'll go into energy efficiency, is a really detailed chart on sort of the exact energy efficiency you've been getting. Our average right now is 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour, and the battery pack here is just over 80 kilowatt hours. So you can do the math there, just take it and multiply it by 3.2, and that's going to tell you exactly how far you should be able to drive while running that average. And then I really like this. It tells you I've regenerated 7.5 miles of range. It could tell you that you've regenerated, 1 kilowatt hour, but again, it doesn't really mean much to most people, especially if you're not used to an EV. So I like that it tells you the distance you have regenerated by using the regen on the brakes. Well, Holly, thanks so much for having us down here to drive your new Equinox EV. To me, the highlight of this vehicle is the price point, is the idea that, you really want it to be a widely adopted vehicle. So can you just speak to me, I guess, from GM and from Chevy Canada's perspective on how important it was to nail that price point and offer that value to consumers?
The 2024 Chevrolet Equinox EV is positioned to be the most affordable EV in the compact SUV segment with more than 500 kilometers of range, right? So that's obviously a phenomenal position to have when you consider, price point and range in the biggest segment in Canada. Mm-hmm. Those are very important attributes for this vehicle, and it's positioned to win.
Nice. So what do you guys identify as the competitors for Equinox EV?
I mean, it's an interesting space right now.
Yeah.
Competitors would be any other compact SUVs, right? So mainstream, your regular gas vehicles, and then your EVs, right? When you think of the price point that we've been able to achieve with the Equinox EV, after the federal and provincial incentives that are currently available, it brings that price point down to a really attractive level to compete with ICE vehicles and help Canadians make their transition into the electric vehicle segment.
Nice, and that almost feels necessary that we had to get to the point where we're not just comparing EV versus EV. And if they're at price parity, well then all of a sudden it's not just, I'm not buying an EV because it's expensive. You can look at all the other factors that come into it, right? So I'm sure that was also something you were going for, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a number of reasons why someone may be looking to consider an electric vehicle. It could be for the sustainability reasons. It could be for, the financial benefits when you think of total cost of ownership and not having to go to the gas station or oil changes, right? There's true benefits there. Or if you just really are looking for a super tremendous fun vehicle to drive loaded with the latest technology, right? So there's 3 different reasons why customers would be thinking about transitioning to an EV, and the Equinox EV is positioned in all those categories.
And cost of ownership is an interesting one because, I think a lot of people get hung up on the initial price and don't look at it over its lifetime, right? So I don't know if you have a number to put to it, but is it significantly less expensive than a gas counterpart to own for 5, 6, 7 years?
I mean, it depends on your daily driving habits,
Fair.
right? So there's a lot of variables that go into how people use their vehicles on a day-to-day basis, but it definitely proves that there are financial benefits to EV ownership.
Gotcha. finally, just for all the Canadians, we are getting the front wheel drive models, correct? It's not all wheel drive only?
We'll have front wheel drive and all wheel drive options available to order now at dealerships, but also landing at dealerships. We're shipping out right now, so those will be landing at dealerships to purchase in the next few weeks.
Nice. And then finally, the absolute base model, the 1LT, is not launching today. So can you tell us when we can expect to see that one? Because that will truly be the affordable one, right?
Yep, that's a great question. So the 1LT will be launching later this year, and more information will come on that as we get closer to production.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Holly. We appreciate it.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Now, folks, we were able to secure an all-wheel drive version, and it's a nice, clear, dry day, so I can't test it in sloppy weather. But I'm in sport mode. Let's feel the power difference now. And there's 60, there's 70 miles an hour in no time flat. So yes, in the all-wheel drive version, definitely feels quicker than the front-wheel drive. Chevy says about 2 seconds you're gonna gain in the run from 0 to 60, so it is a significant difference. I think the one point I want to put out there, and it's been said about EVs many times, but it has to be reiterated. Even this model with, just under 300 horsepower, it might not sound like a ton on paper, but because electric motors can deliver 100% of their torque right off the line, this thing still has crazy quick acceleration for what it is. I'm not going to say it's insane. There's definitely other EVs out there that hit harder and pull harder. This is not meant to be a performance machine whatsoever. It's meant for hauling your family around. But even still, compared to the Equinox, ICE, the gas-powered counterpart, this thing has such better acceleration, and that's front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Although yes, when you go all-wheel drive, it is noticeably quicker. So if you're looking for the performance boost, go all-wheel drive. And then of course, just for the security and peace of mind, driving in sloppy conditions, especially in the snow, the all-wheel drive is always gonna feel a bit better. Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this video. Now, you've sort of seen how this Equinox works, but I think overall, my takeaway on this thing is it feels like a no-frills kind of family vehicle, and we haven't had too many EVs that could claim that. Most manufacturers bring out something electric, they feel like it needs a hook, it needs something special, some crazy feature that sets it apart. This doesn't have any of that, and that is okay. EVs do not have to be futuristic. They can be meant for right now, and that's what the Equinox feels like. Now, of course, with the RS, you're pumping up the price because you're getting more features, more of the styling, but at the base level is where I think this Equinox is truly going to be desirable, especially after you add the federal and then provincial or state-specific EV credits. You're gonna get this thing for, in some cases, less than $30,000, and I think that is the absolute key. If we want mass EV adoption, the price point has to come down, and that's what Chevy is working on right here. Plus, it's a vehicle that's gonna fit you and your family in total comfort. All of those are good things. So folks, that's it for this video, but now of course, I need to hear from you. Go into the comments, let me know what you think about everything that you've seen on this Equinox. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.